Mothers are irreplaceable. Episode 2. Madam Judith runs outside shouting, leaving the children with the father. Help! 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 My husband is dying. The neighbors heard her shouting and came out to help. Mr. John was rushed to the hospital, where he was revived. 2 days later he came back home from the hospital. He was greeted by the children except for the son who Madam Judith managed to send to school. "Where is Tony?" he asked. "He has gone back to school," replied Madam Judith. "He should thank his stars. You and your children conspired to kill me in this house, but before you will succeed, I will kill you people first," Mr. John said as he walks inside the room. The following day, Madam Judith asked him for money for their feeding, but he slapped her and started shouting at her, "Can't you see I'm just coming back from the hospital?" Mr. John said as he walks away. Madam Judith stood for a while, looking confused on where she can get money to feed the children. After sending the son to school, paying the hospital bill for the husband, she was left with no money. Madam Judith in her room with tears. Tina, first daughter, walks in. Madam Judith wipes off her tears. "Are you crying, Mum?" Tina asked. "No, had something in my eyes, trying to get it out," Madam Judith replied, as she stands up to leave. "Take care of your siblings, let me get something we will eat," Madam Judith said. She walks out of the room. Later in the evening, Madam Judith returns home with the little she was able to gather, enters the kitchen and prepares the food for the family. Mr. John returns in the night, asked for his food. Madam Judith brought out the food she kept for him. He opens the plate. "What is this?" he asked. "Your food," Madam Judith replied. Mr. John pours her the food. "Next time, when I request for food, you don't serve me with that type of portion, nonsense," Mr. John said as he walks away. Madam Judith gathers the food, the little she can. Tina was at a corner, watching what was happening. Few weeks later, things continued in same manner. At this point, things became so hard for Madam Judith that she can barely feed the children, while the son in the university struggles with different types of job just to keep up in school. Mr. John is always seen lavishing money on the mistress as the family suffers. One faithful day, Mr. John comes home with the mistress, sent the wife, Madam Judith, and children away from the house just to occupy the house with the mistress. Things became as tough as it can be for Madam Judith. No house, nowhere to lay head and sleep for Madam Judith and the children. Her suffering at this point increased. Subscribe to get notification for episode 3 and see how life tumbled the poor woman and children.